study your ass off. I know you can do it, especially if you butchered step 1. Do quality studying and not quantity. Hey guys, my name is Mercy. Welcome to my channel. Super excited for you to be here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some tips for step 2 studying. So step 2 CK specifically. So I gave you guys my tips for step 2 CS. Go ahead and look at the description box below for the direct link to that video if you're preparing for CS. So go ahead and check that out, my experience. And I get so real with you guys, as I always try to be very, very real. I feel like I mostly talk about things that I've done wrong and how I've learned from that and share with you guys, because I feel like that's where we learn the most from. If you end up checking that out, I tell you guys how crazy Kaplan was and how like I brutally messed that up. So go ahead and check that out. Yeah, anyway, tips on step 2 CK. So I really think it's about using one source. There are so many resources that you can utilize and they will give you great results, but it's about just staying focused on just one resource. So my biggest tip for studying for any of the board exams, including step 2 CK, is just minimizing the amount of resources that you utilize. I would say online med ed and a QBank, UWorld specifically. In terms of textbooks or like a review book, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Honestly, you can go with Master of the Boards, you can do first aid, it doesn't matter. Just pick one. Just settle for one. If you already bought one, keep that, even though you're like kind of being persuaded to buy something else and return that, or buy something else on top of the fact that you already bought that. If someone's like telling you, oh no, this one's better, don't listen, because they're all going to be just fine. It's about the way you study and the way you consistently study, as well as doing questions and annotating, whether in the review book or making a notebook and writing on there, and just making sure you're reviewing. Because remember, especially if you get questions wrong, you've already thought of something in a certain way, so you want to make sure that you review so that whatever you understood that was incorrect, you've changed that thinking to what is correct. And that's why reviewing is really important too. So another thing that I did, I kind of went ham with my notes, and I feel that right now I'm actually avoiding doing questions because it takes me forever to make my notes. So now I'm like, okay, I'm clearly avoiding it for that reason, so maybe I shouldn't make those kind of notes because it's just not getting anything done. So although those notes would be amazing, if I'm not doing questions, then it's just not beneficial then. What I've decided to go back to the way I was studying for step 1, which I have, my first videos are actually on tips on how to study for step 1 and how to study efficiently. And I actually have those little notebooks. So basically I'm just going to be writing notes, making bullet points on just concepts, like quick notes, not writing the whole thing out, not kind of describing like the vignette or anything, just specifically talking about that specific concept that I wanted to clarify and kind of change things around so that it's the right things that I'm understanding instead of what previously wrong thing that I understood it to be. It's about kind of figuring out how you work and working with that, and not necessarily working with what other people advise, and you end up not doing those things just because it's not your way, but you're pushing yourself to do that because you think that's the right way. Hopefully that makes sense. If you are a person that feels rushed or feels anxious because of time, it's really important that you are doing blocks. So that's 40 questions, giving you an hour. Make sure that you're doing it timed. That way, when it comes to the actual exam, you're answering those questions within a timely manner. When you get closer to the exam time, so maybe 2 weeks or even a week, you want to really practice your stamina. So practice or work on your stamina and be able to do several blocks at a time. So one way that you can actually kind of implement this as you're studying earlier on is doing a block of questions at the end of the day, at the end of your study day. You can get back to reviewing those questions later on in the day, the next day if need be, but do a block of questions and get through all of them. And that is going to help you build your stamina, just because you're going to be so exhausted at the end of the day that you don't want to do a block of questions, but because you're pushing yourself to do that, you're going to get through it. Slowly you're going to build your stamina that way. So that's what I did actually. A lot of time our anxiety comes from not being comfortable. When we're uncomfortable, we are obviously more likely to make mistakes. The more you study, the more you review, the more comfortable and confident you become, the less your anxiety will be during the exam. If you lose your confidence, that really affects your anxiety. You might know it all, you might be really good and you have everything down, but if your anxiety gets the best of you, you just crash and burn. So that's why it's important to feel confident, remind yourself that you can and will do it, and be really positive and be kind to yourself. If you're unkind, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not mentally okay, you'll butcher the exam. And maybe you might not butcher it, you might get a score that you don't deserve. That brings me to burnout. So I would sit and pretend like I would, not pretend, but I made myself think or believe that because I'm sitting in front of my desk, because my book is open, that I'm studying. And that wasn't true. That wasn't true at all. So it's really important to give yourself a break. If, for example, maybe you are good with like lasting all day. There's a good amount of days where I was good all day, but then if you're doing that every single day for the week, you are going to burn yourself out over time. And don't feel anxious about getting that break. And that break will then prevent you from getting burnt out. And burnout is freaking serious. So I highly recommend having days off, or at least having, if you don't have that much time, then having at least like some nights off where you're just breathing and you're doing literally nothing but either Netflixing or taking a bath and watching a nice movie or shopping or going out. Well, we can't do that now. Shopping online or doing something else. Just completely check out from studying and focus on just something other than medicine. Step 2, the exam itself, I liked a lot better than step 1. I think I was a lot more prepared for it and I felt more confident. Looking back, after I got out of the exam, I think everyone just feels like shit. And I have a feeling, this is my theory, that people that come out and say it's easy, they're either lying or they completely bomb that shit, like for real. I'm kidding. I don't know. Like after an exam, if you feel like you bombed it, you probably did well, but if you feel like you didn't bomb it and you thought it was easy, you probably didn't do as well as you thought you did. Am I the only? Anyway, so I think that's it. I don't want to make this video too long. Those are just some of my tips for step 2 CK. I know this is a really hard time. Quarantining isn't easy, and then on top of that, quarantining and studying. It's hard. It's definitely hard, but honestly, this is the very best time for you to like cut everything out and just study your ass off, because this exam is really important, especially if you butchered step 1. You really want to do well on step 2, so that way they can see that you just had a really bad exam and you know your shit. Study your ass off and do well in this exam. I know you can do it. Just put the time in, put the effort in, and do quality studying and not quantity. And yeah, so hopefully this helps. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any specific helpful tips, go ahead and drop them in the comment section as well. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Follow me on my Instagram, mercy.md. I'll see you guys later. Bye.